Mountain Warriors here, 2020, creek exploring. This is our yearly wrap-up of the creek exploring we did this summer in 2020.
Yeah, this is not going to be the complete wrap-up of the channel. For this year, we're going to be doing that one in the beginning of January, the end of this year. In total, to wrap up everything. But this is just the creek exploring wrap-up, since this was a big series on this channel.
Yeah, and I would like to add, the years we've been doing this, I think we've been doing this a couple years now. We have some good footage out there on our Mountain Warriors channel, but I just want to say how great of a year it was. We got a lot more opportunities than we have in the past. Usually each year we get a couple opportunities to do the creek exploring that we do. We're always trying to do trails, nature things, to stay on top of what we do with this channel. Not only to hopefully provide some entertainment, information, stuff for people, but also to hopefully educate a younger audience or anyone out there on certain things that we're exploring. Mountain Warriors definitely means a lot to me. Really enjoyed doing it, and we definitely had some great experiences this summer in 2020 and appreciate the opportunities to do this.
Yeah, so the creek exploring series was one that we had kind of tapped into in 2019, but then 2020 we were able to do over 20 episodes. I think it's 21 episodes exactly this year, which is pretty crazy because we only did 4 in 2019, and 21 at least in this year.
Yeah, it was
which is pretty crazy. And I mean, a lot of the spots, some of these spots were actually multiple locations. So if you think about, we went to over 30 different spots of the creeks, which just think about how much space there actually is. We didn't even come close to covering all the creeks. But we're going to go through every month that we were there, at least the month that we did the creek exploring, to kind of sum it up better. So starting out in March was the first time that we even contemplated getting in the creek, and that is when we tried swimming. Really tried getting in. I put my face in, I had my feet in, tried to put my face in, and took my breath away every time. There was not a snowball's chance in heck we were getting in that water.
Yeah, definitely. We got an opportunity in March. It was definitely cold. Not as bad outside, but
got to 70s at the most.
We thought we, figured the water was cold regardless of when we went, even in the heat of the summer. But it definitely was even colder. And I think the mistake we made as well, which looking back, is we've learned that the higher elevations we go into the mountains, the colder the water gets. Even though the air gets cold as well, it's definitely cooler. I definitely do believe that the water gets colder in temperature. We'll have to maybe research that in the future to see where it's at temperature gauge wise, but we've noticed in the aquatic life that it's not as abundant as it is down below. Just highlighting March though, we definitely was too cold for us really to swim. We did get an opportunity to get in up to our knees and waist, to where we filmed some different things. We caught a little bit of fish here and there. The water was freezing cold. It was definitely up, beautiful. Nothing was really grown in as far as the trees, so we still had a good time, and we did catch a glimpse of something Kenny will expand on as far as the flash of a bigger fish in the water.
Yeah, we did blind filming, and that's about all we got for the underwater footage, and that's why we got the flash. We got the flash of a big fish under the water. It was a big flash of a very big fish in the water. Some kind of it was just a big fish, all of it on the screen right now. And that's about all we got. That's the only sign of life we saw in the water, which is very interesting. We didn't see any other fish from what we filmed, nothing really at all. But then we did see the flash of a very big one, which really makes me wonder why only that fish was there.
My guess would be for sure that there were other fish around, we just didn't catch them. All right, now we've moved into May. May was a good trip. There were a lot of things. I know we're targeting swimming right now, but there were a lot of good things in May. I had a bear take Kenny's phone. We did try to do a new type deal with our site as far as animals biting type thing. We can't obviously tie the shoes of the guy that made
Coyote Pearson inspired.
But definitely had a crawdad take a pinch of my hand, and I definitely learned for sure. Crawdads are, they look like they're dangerous, they look mean, but they're always scared, they're harmless. But they do pack a good punch with their bite, and I learned that the hard way, as you can see on a video. Swimming-wise, we got to get in the water, which was nice. Got some really good footage of underwater life. Yeah, I got to see a lot of varieties of fish. The last thing I'll touch on here before Kenny takes it over is we were swimming in a hole that had some art forms in it, which we see a lot of different things in the water. Sometimes they're hard to decipher what they are, and this one here we had missed, and the GoPro caught kind of a face in the rocks, which I believe got formed through water over time, just making these holes. We've seen the holes elsewhere, but this one here formed a kind of spooky face and thought it was a pretty nice twist.
This is the first time we actually got in the water for real. We were in the water for over 30 minutes, and in May, this water was beyond freezing. We were like dying out there, and that's where we got the footage of the rainbow trout. I remember we were going home, and I felt ice going through my veins. I had a headache. I was like really dying. I stayed in way too long, and really I was very close to hypothermia. But yeah, then we got the creepy face under the water when we just threw the GoPro in. It was definitely crazy, and that was the trip that I'd say was a lot better on land with the crazy bear video. But it was just the start to really what was to come. And the next month is definitely when things got crazy.
Now we're moving on to June. Definitely got to do, again, some more swimming. The temperatures were up, and we got to spend a little more time in the creeks. And as you can see, we definitely saw some more, of a lot of the aquatic life that we've seen before. We got to swim in some pretty deep holes. No one in particular. Besides some of the nests that we saw, fish doing different things, river chub. We ran into a crazy bass. This bass was, at first I think we labeled it quite a few times as a rock bass, and it was not. After later looking at this and checking it out, it was a smallmouth bass that got extremely crazy on us. It's hard to explain. When you see the video, it gives you an idea of, we're not talking about Jaws here or anything, but as far as the bass species goes, this is, definitely a Jaws type fish. Started off pretty harmlessly to where when we were swimming in the hole, it was a hole that, like I said, was about 8 to 12 feet deep. So we were seeing a lot of different life, a lot of things going on. And I think I was the first one to encounter, or I must have stepped into his area to where he was either in a mating type deal or it was his territory. And he definitely came darting at me, let me know that he was there. He must have picked up on something from that point, and he started basically trying to chase me and Kenny out of that hole. And he was going back and forth, knew what he was doing, taking little jabs at us. They really can't, they don't have teeth to bite, but they still can make some pretty fast moves at you.
Yeah, and it did actually end up hurting me because if you see this picture of my ankle, it did cut my ankle when I was walking in the water. It hurt my ankle for sure. It cut my ankle, and as you see in this picture, it actually left a scar on my ankle. It's gone now, but it was pretty crazy that I was in an inch of water, and this bass was so determined to get us out of there that he literally cut my ankle somehow. It's definitely a story that we'll never forget. It was pretty crazy with just a bass like this, that he was that angry and that wanting us to get out of that hole that bad. Definitely makes me think twice about swimming in any water with bigger fish that are anywhere big enough to actually maybe do some damage.
Well, I think too, it definitely it lets you know what we already knew as far as how you should observe and definitely appreciate and respect nature the best you can. We push it a little bit by swimming in these holes. We try to be very careful with what we do. We try to be respectful. But this fish here for sure, and we've heard from other experts on TV and elsewhere that all fish can have a dominant male, a rogue fish that's doing goofy things, but this one here is as a smallmouth bass is a more aggressive type fish from what we've heard, and he definitely showed it that day. But as you can see from the video, I mean, it still is crazy to the point of what he, where his mentality is of what he's trying to do. And by no means were our lives in danger or anything like that, but it was something that we enjoyed, had some fun with, but I do admit was a little off with. And as you can see also, just the tidbit I would add on to this is just how this fish was hiding under a rock and knew what he was trying to do with getting us out of that hole. Some of the video shows how he would attack anytime we were even near, and we definitely learned a lot from what he did in that hole. We checked him out another time when we went back, and we will check on him again next year to see if he's still there.
It is worth mentioning something off camera was when actually, I don't know if I swallowed some creek water or what happened. Maybe it was just the curse of the bass that night I ended up getting really sick, and I ended up throwing up like for an hour. And I don't know, we joke around that it was the curse of the bass, which I don't know if it was that or the restaurant we ate at. But that night, not only did he scare us around that hole, he cut my ankle, but then I got sick that night. So definitely a day to remember.
It might have had something to do with those. We thought it might be Little Debbie's zebra cakes, but it probably was the water in the creek.
But something that gets overshadowed is the river chub. The river chub are definitely really cool. The footage you were able to get of them building the nest was pretty crazy and cool and something we never noticed, and it's definitely made us more aware of swimming in those creeks, that those nests are around. So we're much more cautious. Now I don't want to step through the creek without looking every step because I don't want to actually step into it.
Yeah, we definitely, as we said before, we're trying to be as respectful of nature that we can be. Hopefully we're not doing anything wrong. We're going to continue to always push it and not only respect nature, but try to live and learn the best we can to keep doing it better and better. The nest that Kenny's talking about is quite the building architecture of the fish that is
Sectional.
it's awesome. And to watch how these fish do that by moving these rocks into piles, and then that actually helps other fish build their nests as well, was really neat to stumble upon. And then it was crazy to see how many there are actually in the creeks once you do look. So that's why you do have to be careful of what you're doing.
Then if we move into July was a long trip, and we got a lot done in this trip. One of the first discoveries we made was the northern hogsucker. I remember you went down and saw it, and I couldn't believe when Barry said he saw the northern hogsucker down there. I thought it was going to be a smaller fish, but when I saw how big it was really insane.
Yeah, I agree. This trip for sure was the longest one we had. So we got a lot of swimming in, a lot of material for what we do, and just highlighting the ones for sure is, hitting it. First, for me, one of the most interesting things we ran across was a couple of big rainbow, possibly brook trout. And I'm talking probably 12 to 15 inches long for sure. I got them in the environment to where a couple of them were like near the bottom of the water, almost sleeping. Also learned a lot as far as how they will hang into the rocks. This is hard to explain, but when I was down there deep in the water, I looked over at the rocks and basically stuck into the crevices of the rock, just almost the same color. You see these big eyeballs, and they're basically just sitting there. I think they sit there not only to rest, but definitely to blend in with their environment, to hide from predators and things like that. I don't know if there's a nest involved in that or not, but as you can see from some of the pictures, one of the more neat things that I ran across swimming in these holes. I don't know how many times we probably went past these spots and didn't even realize that they were amongst those rocks. One of the holes we swim in, I had to swim almost close to 10 feet down. This thing was the size of my arm, and we got a few videos of him, but he was that fast and big that he moved in and out of that hole pretty quick. But definitely a neat thing. And going back to the northern hogsucker that Kenny was talking about, we definitely saw one that I believe pushes close to a record from what we read. And just to see how they blended in with their environment on the bottom. If you didn't pay attention to where you first saw them, you could lose them real quick. I mean, they were really good, and I would watch them swim fast to certain spots, sit down, and basically know they were the same color as the rocks. So they were very camouflaged, and definitely a unique type fish that you don't see that often.
We also did find this month of swimming, we found 2 pairs of sunglasses. I spotted one in the northern hogsucker section, and then you spotted one near the rainbow trout in this crazy picture that was just right near the rainbow trout. And in particular, one of the sunglasses, I don't know how much it was, but the one near the rainbow trout were Costa glasses that cost over $100. So we were able to find a pair of sunglasses that was over $100 just there. Someone definitely didn't want to lose those. They must have lost them within a day or two, or within a week, because they were in perfect condition, and I am able to wear those around now as a free pair of sunglasses, because no one was getting those back unless you were willing to dive to the bottom. Not many people are willing to do that. We did return to the bass spot. We saw the bass in the same spot, but he didn't attack, which is really interesting. And then we did end up going by a certain part of the creek that it seemed like the fish were kind of cut off from another part of the stream, and there were tons of fish in this one part. The pictures really don't do it justice, but the videos show hundreds of fish in this one section, which was really cool. It was probably the most fish we've ever seen in a little spot before.
Yeah, we definitely, we've done this before. The creeks, they offer up a different array of all kinds of fish. I believe there's 68 species of fish in these creeks and the different veins that run off of them. We probably have not seen all 68, but we've seen a lot. And when we run into these huge schools of fish, it really is neat to see them in their environment, their world. And like Kenny said, we ran across a couple that were very plentiful with a lot of different fish species.
Yeah, the last part of this trip, we did do creek exploring at night, which was very creepy. Not only because of the stuff being in the water in the dark, but having the woods behind us. We were pretty close to town, But even just knowing that a bear could be around us and we really wouldn't know because a black bear blends in with the night so easily was definitely a creepy part. But one rainbow trout did swim up to me at a certain point, shined the light at it, kind of checked me out, and then went away. It was interesting seeing the flashing of all the little fish in the dark. I was just waiting for an otter or something to swim by and scare the crap out of me.
No, that was definitely that was fun. We did a lot of swimming on this trip, and to be honest with you, if you've not swam in this type of water, not only is it cold that wears your immunity system out a little bit, but the effort that you have to put into swimming against the currents, holding your breath, all that good stuff, it wears you out. We went back for some night swimming, which we've been meaning to do. It's a little more dangerous, probably why we've avoided it. It's harder, but we squeezed in a little bit of an episode that hopefully we can build on in the future. We'd like to get further into the creek veins, get a little more out there. It's going to be a little scarier, things like that, but I think we can pick up some better footage. Like Kenny said, we got a few things in there, and but obviously the outside the water environment, I think we were a little more concerned with, but it was still fun. All right, now we've bumped into August, kind of one of the hotter months of the creek exploring we did, so the water honestly felt good. The month of August was, again, a trip for me and Kenny, very plentiful with waterfalls, some real beautiful spots, very enjoyable swimming. We ran across a couple more big rainbows. I know for one in particular was that I'll pick out here was near what Kenny will expand on. What we found some cool tubs near a waterfall that was fun. But the big rainbow that I ran across in the waterfall was really neat because we were swimming in some pretty turbulent water. This was one of the more fun spots for me because we were basically swimming amongst the waterfall itself, and saw a lot of different fish, but the one in particular that you see a picture of, he was hung into a rock like right under where the water falls. It's a spot that you would never guess that's where he would be, but he was big enough and strong enough to hold into that spot. And it was interesting for me, not only as a swimmer of the creeks and nature, but as a fisherman. You always kind of want to figure out when you're outside the water where these fish may be and stuff like that, and that was interesting to see that he was in that spot.
The rainstorm in particular, we had to go out. We were swimming in the creek when it was raining, was pretty unbearable because it was colder because of the rain, the cold front that came through, and then getting out when it was still cold from the rain. Getting rained on and going in the creek was pretty bad. It was pretty brutal to stay in the water, but then obviously we had a really good spot with the cold tubs that led to some of the best pictures we've ever gotten. There's definitely some really cool spots. The cold tub in particular was a really neat thing. It was just something that was pretty close to the main vein of roads, but it's something that I think a lot of people don't see because it's kind of hidden in the back.
I would say too, like the cool tubs were really neat, and also amongst these cool tubs were just little pockets of holes with water in them that probably were amongst the big creek system when the water was up. But as the water goes down, it kind of leaves them out there on their own, a little more secluded. And in a couple of the holes, it was like a whole little aquatic world. You
Aquarium.
had two crawdads in one, kind of living amongst a lot of little fish, and just really neat to see how beautiful nature can be in different things.
Yeah, and this is also when we got attacked by a horsefly jumping out of the water. We not only fought off a spider earlier, but we also got attacked by a horsefly later that was really attached to Barry's back. Yeah, we fought that off finally, and we were trying to film a snake, and we got a horsefly flying around. It was definitely a crazy series of events.
Yeah, something we don't target too much. We did see quite a few snakes this summer as well. I'd say we saw more northern water snakes, and while filming one pretty good size, we've run across horseflies are a pain in the butt. Anyone that's been bitten by a horsefly knows that it hurts. They, for whatever reason, really are a nuisance type fly and bug that really tries to stay on you. I believe they like darker colors, and especially when you're wet. And whenever you're near the creeks, you can become, once you get into their environment, they can really be bothersome. And we had a few that really bugged the crap out of us, as the video will show. But other than that, with the water snake and the fly, what was the other thing we just talked about?
Spider.
Oh, the spider, which, we are the mountain warriors. Now look, that's something we really enjoy and we take pride in, but we do admit we are always learning and not exactly mountain men by any means. So, running through spider webs, things like that is part of what we do with our trail work. When we're along the creeks and spots where a lot of people are not, we will walk right through some pretty good spider webs. And anyone that knows these creeks, the spiders can get pretty big. some as big as your hand or close to it with their reach. Now, ended up what would be our last month of swimming this year. We did make a trip in November, but we did not do any swimming in November. So September was the last month. It was a good trip, just a good final wrap up of what was, like we said, I think a great summer. Hopefully we'll build on it for next year to be even better. But this month of September just wrapped up what we've been doing. We got to swim in some really good holes. The temperatures were good. Saw a lot of different wildlife. We really expanded our range as far as hitting some spots that a lot of people don't get to. So it was really neat to be in some of these deeper holes, as you can see. Just seeing that world that you typically cannot without getting in it with goggles, filming it, and had a lot of fun.
But then we found a very slippery big rock in the one episode that I actually slipped in without knowing it at first. And this is a rock that even knowing it was slippery was that insane. A really long, flat rock that was just really cool. But it was just one continuous rock that was slippery, and it went for so long that it was kind of just a slip and slide through this whole part of this creek. And that was actually before that we did find a creepy area with a water snake, and we were able to get some cool underwater footage. I wanted to get some underwater footage of a snake for a while. Got some good footage. It was in a creepier side stream that gave us some weird vibes, but we were able to get some footage there. And then the last spot in particular was a really good spot that we were able to get some good footage of rainbows and a lot of fish. And it was a cool spot. It's after we had walked like 4 miles, but it was definitely a good spot for sure. And I guess we should mention the Chimney Tops. When we thought the water was cooler basically everywhere, except then we went to Chimney Tops, which is definitely a lot higher, and it was pretty crazy, the differences.
Yeah, I think all the things he was talking about there, that one hole that was off the road as far as, I guess, secluded from the creek, but definitely its own little world. We hope to check out again next year. Saw the snake. But then going into Chimney Tops, which once again, I think I mentioned this earlier, we've learned that a lot of the aquatic life, at least the more plentiful aquatic life, is at the bottoms of the mountains. As you move up the mountains, you start losing more numbers. The water gets colder, and definitely from what we learned, not only swimming did we get colder, but we just saw less and less quantities of the different fish that we would see. But it's talking about Chimney Tops swimming for sure. Was one of the more colder waters we'd been in. When we got in, it felt like little knives jabbing you in the skin. I ended up, got to a point where I think I might have been in a little bit of hypothermia because I told Kenny I was actually feeling warmer. I do believe
the water was warmer down here.
Yeah, the water was getting warmer to me, so that might have been a sign of, me needing to get out.
And I felt the water because I hadn't been in as long, and it was not warmer.
But I did get a little more used to it. We had to hike up and down this creek system that was a little hilly. Had a lot of rocks that we had to traverse and get through. But it was great. It was one of the more clean. The whole water systems are clean. All of it's clean. Some of it's a little more murky. But this here was absolutely just crystal clear. It was freezing cold, but I still had a lot of fun swimming in it. And we did see some trout here and there, but very beautiful scenery, and had some fun doing it. All right, so that wraps up the Mountain Warriors 2020 swimming session of what we did with this site and what we do. We did a lot of trails this summer as well, which we'll get into more in the seasonal wrap-up, probably in mid to late December. And but as far as creek swimming goes, this was a really good year. And I feel very blessed to not only be able to do this with my son, my family, but to get all the different opportunities was great. I don't know that we'll have another year where we'll get this many chances. We definitely plan on a handful each year, but we will definitely good to look back on it, enjoyed it, and already look forward to next year. And like I said, building on what we do.
Yeah, it was definitely a crazy year. We had only done a few episodes, at least filmed. We've been doing this for a while, but as far as filming and putting in episodes, like I said, we only did 4 in 2019. Able to do 21 at least in 2020. Had a lot of crazy stuff happen. Saw a lot of things we had never seen before. Definitely paying attention more as far as the river chub, the bass attacking us, seeing some really big trout. Saw a lot of species, but there's definitely still a lot to discover. And there's still just endless amounts of creeks to explore. So we definitely discovered a lot. And it's all documented, but we can keep discovering more. And we'll have all of this footage for, obviously, for entertainment for anyone watching, but also as kind of documenting for if we want to look back.
No, and just wrapping it up, Kenny's right, and like I said, it was a good year. We look to build on it for next year, and be looking for us for a little seasonal wrap up at the end here, and then next year coming back bigger and stronger. Like I said, it was a great year. Just to build on it means that hopefully we're more experienced. We'll find some different places to swim, some new places, and not only hopefully see a lot more of what we've seen, but continue to expand on things that we have not. And this is not only in the water, but on the trails, in the mountains. But for sure, again, I know I said it last year, and we missed on this one with the Hellbender, but I do believe we found a couple spots that we have not been to yet that could produce this footage, and we look forward to hopefully finding that. So we hope everyone out there in this unprecedented times, we're getting by, and we will continue to get by, and we'll get through this, but we've enjoyed what we do, and we look forward to doing it again next year. Mountain Warriors out.